Dr. Shannon, thank you for coming.
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you, too.
Pull it right to you a little bit.
Got it.
There you go. Perfect.
I just realized we coordinated our outfits today. You're blue and gray.
I'm colorblind.
Oh.
But I can see blue and I can't see gray, so that's no excuse.
Well, we're twinning. There's a theme.
We're twinning today.
We're
yeah.
twinning.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Yeah, I did. When I bought this shirt, I'm thinking to myself, it's a little flowery. But I wasn't sure if it was a geometric pattern or a flower. I didn't care.
It's both. It's not. I mean, it's almost mid-century because
mid-century,
which is really cool right now. But it's also flowery, but it's not like super like it's a good blend. But you should dress, how you like and dress creatively because white shirts and blue shirts on guys are boring.
We just had a conversation off camera, which we won't get into in detail, but I did happen to say I left corporate America for a reason, and that was another reason I left corporate America, because I wanted to dress the way I wanted to dress.
Too many navy blue blazers.
Something like that. Yeah, now this was the late 90s, so there was a little more formality to, the dress of America. But I also changed real estate brokers. Nothing against the company or the people, but their philosophy when I first got in, it was the heavyweight in town, and I was told I wasn't going to make it wearing denim, and I had to have a certain colored car, and all kinds of craziness. So yeah, that was pretty rigid.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that might suit some people and some clients, but we all evolve, right? We live, we evolve. We might like different things, or might be more comfortable with different parts of ourselves, and I think that how we dress is a good reflection of that.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, my friend,
yes.
Last time you were here, we were slowly coming out of COVID, and I don't want to talk about it much, but I do want to ask you, you've had some time to maneuver business-wise, socially, and so forth. Do you feel like we're kind of, at least from a social standpoint or human interaction standpoint, do you feel that the mentality is we're kind of past it now?
Yeah. So, and thank God, right? It's funny yesterday, I was with a group of friends and I was introducing a new friend, and everybody just naturally hugged without having to be like, are you a hugger, or having to have space and things like that. So I think that people know that it's still a thing, and people are still testing and being positive, and I think people are giving each other enough grace to handle it how they want to now versus being so rigid and opinionated. And I also think that there's only so long that, by human nature, I think for most of us is to be social, and we are family oriented and community oriented. So to remove that from people, at some point we were going to burn out on that, and people were going to be desperate for that human interaction and that normal way of living. So I do see people being way more normal. Business wise, we're still trying to figure out what to do with that, because a lot of what we would do was a combination of, education in a corporate environment. So lunch and learns, health fairs, things like that, or for companies, or for, social groups. And then in addition to that, we did tons of community events, or we would host events. So that all changed, and we had to go more into online advertising, which is a really difficult thing for me to sort of grasp and comprehend and manage properly. So we had to play with that, which was okay, and it sustained us, but it wasn't my favorite. So we're continuing to do that, but then we're also layering in some of the other stuff that we used to do. And companies, it's kind of a mixed thing, because some companies have people that have been in the office or the business environment and never left, healthcare and things like that. And then you have other companies where they've basically gutted their physical space, and everybody's on 2 days in, 3 days out. So we're still trying to figure out and be active in working with the companies that do have people on site that want them to be educated and engaged and feel appreciated. And yeah, so it changed, a lot for us in how we approached our business. But I mean, I can tell you both, in respect to that, we have more people coming out and being more comfortable, and also just with social things now.
That was my next question.
Yeah, no, I've even attended things, and people have been everybody's coming out. The number of people that are coming out is surprising. Sometimes the people that are hosting these things or managing them. So I don't know, I think it's cool. People are starting to be more comfortable.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, because a couple months ago, or I'd say over the last couple months, I've had some musicians on, and they basically said that they love it. They love being back out again, but they're looking out, and they still see a little trepidation, and they also think that, people are still kind of sizing up crowds anyways. But Fred's out with Nikki Sixx and Motley Crue, and they're playing stadiums, so I guess people are somewhat obviously being okay with being congregating again.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how that, on a big scale, it's pretty obvious we're okay congregating, but then when you talk to other artists who might be playing smaller venues, they're the one that are actually noticing that there's it's
more
weird.
Space.
It's weird.
No, and I think you're right. I mean, I got to my first concert back was John Mayer, which I've never seen before.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was really fun. It was, my girlfriend was kind enough. She had a credit left over from like Foo Fighters that never happened or something. And so we were on the floor, which I'd never been.
Right on.
But I was like laughing because we were like the oldest people there. And so
this is our reality now, my
and
friend.
we had like, what did we have? Oh, Trulies, like giant Trulies that they would pour with shots in them, but they couldn't put the shots in. So we had like Trulies with shots. And like everybody around us was 22, so we were just like, "Where are your moms?" And we were just like, party mom that night, and I don't know, keeping an eye on the kids.
Where are your moms? That is concert reality for me for sure, and that's kind of why I think I haven't gone to too many last couple of years. Yeah,
you aged out. Billy Joel's coming.
I'm going to.
Perfect there.
I'm actually going to Billy Joel. Yeah, I got a group of us. We're going to Billy. Oh no, Elton. Excuse me, Elton John.
He's September 16th.
Yeah, I figured it's now or never for Elton. And I hope he's still got the pipes. We'll see.
He's just going to have oxygen backstage. That's what they all do. They have like their
think?
little. Yeah, they have pressurized oxygen.
I would think so.
They have to.
Some of them could use a shot of helium to get their voices back. But we won't go down.
We should
that
do
road.
that here. I love the helium voice.
Oh my! You know what? We should do that. Maybe the next time we sit down with a panel show,
we'll do the
your
helium.
job is bring a little bit of helium balloons and have some fun with that. We have not done that yet.
Definitely helium, not whippets.
What is that? What's that?
That's the stuff in the whipped cream that makes you really high.
Oh.
Did I just teach you something?
Yeah.
I don't think we're allowed to. I think it's illegal to do that.
So,
it's CO2 maybe? I don't know.
Okay.
What's in a whippet?
Well, okay, so I had this very bad habit. Like I'm a pretty couth person, but I have this very bad habit that no one in my family eats whipped cream. So we buy it for the holidays. And at the end of Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, there's these cans of whipped cream stacked in there. And I'll just take these whipped creams and because there's no carbs in that stuff. If you buy the bad stuff, there's nothing in it. But it tastes great.
It's still, we have.
Will that get me high?
Well, not if you get the whipped cream in your mouth. You just have to, instead of tipping it, I'm telling you, I can't believe this.
I can't believe my wife is going to, she's going to like, what are you doing? You
leave this can down and you just push the thing so all the gas comes out and you breathe it in and you hold it and then you get silly.
Okay.
But if you're actually eating the whipped cream, you're not.
No,
I
would I guess and just squirt that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I always laugh because my dogs and now cat know what the whipped cream is. And they're all about it. So if it's in the fridge, it's
they eat this stuff. It's not really the non-dairy stuff. It won't matter.
They'll eat anything. I have a foster dog right now, and he's adorable. But I call him ODB after Old Dirty Bastard, the rapper.
Right on. Yeah, I remember
but his real name is Klaus.
Remember.
Yeah, but he literally will eat anything. He'll tell you I want to eat that, and I want to eat that, and he eats the trash. He eats stuff out of litter box. I was eating an apple the other day. He's like, I want that. So he'll eat anything. Pretty indiscriminately, except for this morning. No, that wasn't him. Anyway. So but even my little cat, I have that little naked cat. He stands on the counter and he gets whipped cream too. It's the cutest. So I think I don't know. I think you're in your right lane eating that. It's delicious.
Well, yeah, even the non-dairy stuff. The real stuff or not. And it was always so less exciting when you were a kid when you would get it in the bowl. Mom would buy Cool Whip in a tub. You gotta have the spray, man.
They're both good. I like both of those.
Eat it all in one sitting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like cereal. I used to eat cereal in one sitting. And my dad was so pissed off. My mom would go shopping, and we were on a tight budget when I was a kid. And she'd bring home a box of cereal. My brother and I would sit down there at 7 p.m. and just destroy a whole box of cereal. And she would look at that and are you kidding me? It's supposed to last a week.
Yeah. No, you eat all the good stuff right away. And if it was, what is the one? Captain Crunch. Literally, you'd have bleeding, the roof of your mouth, and you're still eating Captain Crunch.
Yeah, I made her buy Crunch Berries because there was less, because they were round, there was less pain involved with Crunch Berries than there was than the real stuff.
Yeah.
It was like eating, gravel.
Yeah.
But it was so good.
When we were little,
Did you ever look at the nutritionals on that stuff? It is horrifying.
Well, you can't. I mean, if you're going to eat that, you need to know that it doesn't matter. Like you have to just give up on that and just enjoy the experience. Like don't wreck it for yourself because you're going to feel weird for days after.
Oh man.
When we were little, we had WIC and King Vitamin was an approved cereal. So we ate so much King Vitamin.
I remember that.
And I mean, I guess we thought it was great, but there's nothing for me, it's Count Chocula. If I was going to eat a whole box of cereal today, I would eat Count Chocula first.
Okay.
Apple Jack second, and Cookie Crisp third.
Oh man, I
loved
all this. Oh,
well, what's your number one?
The Captain Crunch has to be there for that sickeningly. It's just so sickeningly sweet. It's
still with crunch berries.
Probably with the berries. Yeah, I would take crunch. I would do that. I thought I was the only person on the planet that remembered the vintage Cookie Crisp.
Oh yeah,
because it tasted better back then. I've tasted it recently. It's okay. They probably took all the good stuff out of it, all the chemicals. That third one, man, I like Count Chocula, but you know what? I'm a Cocoa Pebbles kind of guy.
Okay.
Yeah, because the milk would turn chocolate in there when you were it was just it was a whole experience in and of itself.
Have you seen? I know. Yeah. Well, that's part of the deal. That's why Apple Jacks are good. But
that's good stuff.
I don't know if it's Turner's or Marburger. Somebody locally does where they'll launch limited edition milk flavors. Yeah, and they have Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavor, which is everything. And I mean, I don't know. Somebody's smart. Hey. I was with Turner's. I think I had my first Turner's tea a month ago.
Oh, really?
And it was crack. I can understand.
That's why everybody's so addicted to it.
But I'm sad, with the stadium, this Acrisure or whatever happened.
What is that?
Right. So I feel if Pittsburghers, if everybody would have given Turner's $5, they could have had the stadium naming rights, which would have been much more Yinzer and appropriate for our city.
I thought for some reason there was going to be a campaign. Hear me out. If the Steelers had given more time publicly and said, hey, we're not going to re-up, or Heinz is not going to re-up, and 6 months from now we're going to rename it, and given people time to raise capital, I thought Permane Brothers would have done something, or something, and they don't have the wherewithal, I'm sure, probably to do it on their own, but a campaign could have been started, right?
Yeah.
Or somebody, Turner, somebody that's iconic to the town.
Absolutely. I agree.
And now it's not that it matters to me, but it's it doesn't have the same kind of.
Well, how long is their tenure?
Oh, no.
I guess they have first right of refusal.
Is that how it works?
I don't know. I'm not their lawyer, but that's probably how it works. I should have done it. We should have done it.
Yeah.
But if it comes up again, we should do a GoFundMe for Turner's. That's what I'm voting for, or something.
I like the idea. Hey, I know what I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
You're the person with the greatest amount of dog knowledge in my sphere.
Oh, I love dogs so much.
I know you do. So we had twins. I don't know if they were twins. They were the same litter, and we lost one. So the other one is doing remarkably well, better than we could have even thought. But the oddest thing happened the other day. So I eat a lot of almond toast. Corny thing, but I eat a lot of on Ezekiel bread, almond butter, right? Very bland tasting, but it's my thing. This dog will sit and beg for that, and then when I try to give him some, he will never take it. And this has been going on for 3 years.
Okay.
Other day, I'm sitting on a couch having some. I give it to him. He eats it. He eats the whole piece of bread. Eats the other one. Not that I want to give him a bunch of that, but I was astounded. Now, this wasn't the other day. This is weeks ago. It's never happened again. Now he'll come in the kitchen and beg, and I was, hey, listen, you dummy, you just ate this. You like it. How do I rationalize that in my head? How can somebody how can an animal selectively choose to eat something after a long period of time of refusing it one time vivaciously and then never touch it again?
Maybe he was just hungry. I mean, I don't think there's...
They're always hungry.
I don't know. I mean...
It was the weirdest damn thing. It turned as... there was nothing different. I was the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
I tried talking to him. I tried to have a conversation. He didn't offer up much.
Did the other dog used to eat that?
Everything, anything, everything.
Maybe he was just,
channeling the other one. Maybe.
It was memorial. He was my brother used to love this, so I'm going to do it.
I'm sitting there and I'm looking. My son was there. I'm like, do you see this? It's just okay. Well, maybe he digs it now. And then the next day I'd eat it, and he was just like, well, Like I love animals. There's so much to them. You think you have it figured out, you don't have it figured out.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he just wanted to make you happy, or he was just like,
could be
just like, maybe I should try this. And then the next day he was like, regrets. I don't know. You're going to have to.
Maybe you went out in the backyard and had some regrets.
Right. The best excuse for everything, regrets. But I don't know. I was out yesterday and I got to meet 2 new dogs.
Right on.
Yeah. One was Tallulah. She was at Kingfly, and she had, her owners were there, and she's going through heartworm treatment. So they had her out for like a jaunt before she got like another round of it.
What was the name?
Tallulah, which is so cute. Like Tallulah Bankheart. She was an old movie.
It. Yeah.
Tallulah. Isn't it fun to say?
It is fun to say.
Yeah, it's a good one. Tallulah Bankheart was an actress, like I think in the 40s, and was like, I think kind of a sexy actress, and sort of like was known for that. But yeah, Tallulah, she was a Swiss mountain dog. Yeah. So, and then I got to meet Iggy, the Boston Terrier. Yeah, he was so cute.
A Boston Terrier named Iggy. Yeah. I can see that.
He was adorable.
I can see that.
So, yeah. And then I went home to my crew, which my one.
How many do you have now?
I have 3. So Sophie, my Dane, turns 11 today. So
wow.
I know. It's a big day in Great Dane life.
It sure is. It sure is.
And then I have Hugo, and he'll be 5 in November. And then I have Klaus, and he's 13. Klaus. I call him Klaus, Pap, ODB.
ODB.
He can't really hear. Like, he can hear whistles. So, like, to communicate with him, you literally just have to whistle.
To get attention.
And when he sleeps, like, I literally go over and I, like, put my hands on him and just sort of, like, press to wake him up, because he just sleeps through everything.
So how did you come up with the name of Klaus?
So he's a rescue, so I'm fostering him, although I feel like I'm gonna fail because he like loves the house and the dogs and the cats so much. But
he's not going anywhere.
I know, everybody says that. They're like, Shannon, come on, don't be silly. But I always wanted to foster and hospice senior dogs, and give them like really fantastic lives at the end of their lives, and not have them in a stressed like shelter environment or euthanized, because a lot of people can't handle that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I volunteered for Senior Hearts Renewal and Rescue, and they do like tons of really good senior like rescue work. So I went through the interview process, and they knew that I was comfortable with big dogs, and that I was equipped to handle them. So they found him. His owner had died.
Okay.
And he was in a shelter for like a month and was sort of like shutting down. And they won't usually, I don't think they take an animal out of a shelter. Like, shelters will call them, and they want to have a foster home before they pull them out, so that they're not like changing positions like a whole bunch of times.
Okay.
So yeah, his owner died, and his name was Chaos, like Kaous.
Okay.
So
that's different.
Yeah, and he can't hear. So we said we're going to call him Klaus, because it's much more dignified. But he's hilarious. So like I was talking about with the women that run the foster, they've been so incredible, like supportive, education, handle the vet stuff. And
what's the name of that organization? Senior
Hearts Renewal and Rescue.
Okay.
They're awesome. Okay. And I was just sending them pictures this morning, but they, goodness. Oh, I think what happened. So like, this guy's 13, he's unneutered, can't hear, has the name Chaos. He's some kind of like, I think he looks like a boxer in a pit. Like,
there's
like,
warnings there, right?
Well, yeah. And so what's funny is like, so for a couple of weeks or a week, you like let them decompress like by themselves, and then you introduce them to the house and the rest of the animals and things like that, just to make sure that like they're like as stress-free as possible.
Okay.
So when he was by himself, I didn't realize like some of his habits, and like when I got him in like the regular mix, I had people doing construction on the bathroom, and like we would follow the construction dudes around all day. And then when they weren't there and like there were boxes there, he would like shred all these boxes.
Okay.
And I'm like, and then he also like raids the trash. Well, I think that was his job. So like in my brain, his owner was like a dude's dude that like loved him. He got this like big-headed dog named him Chaos. Was like, you get to keep your nuts, dude. And like would take him to the work site and like give him stuff to do.
That was his gig, yeah.
Yeah, like one of my boyfriends in the past, like he would always give the dogs assignments. Like if you were in the woods and he would tell you like, get the log, like they would like dig the log or like walk on whatever. Okay. So like giving them work, dogs work, depending on what their breed is. Right. And so this dude, that was his job, I'm quite sure. So I've been training him out of that, which has been fine. But yeah, that's my story. It's like he had like a really like manly owner. And so,
you figured that out. See, you're being a crime investigator. You walk that back and put a picture to it.
I don't know. It's just how my brain works. Like, I was curious about his past, you know? So I made it up.
It's good enough, right?
Yeah, it's fine. He doesn't care.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
I don't think you'll mind.
Nope.
So when you and I were exchanging a text message with our good friend Scott, I think you two were out having libations. I was working.
I have a libation. Scott doesn't
that's
libate.
right. That's right. He just serves them.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating to me in its own right.
I think it's what helps him stay,
I think you're right.
You know, on track.
Yes. So you folks gave me an offer to come and join you, and I would have under any other circumstance, but I was out that evening with a client. Mm-hmm. And I think your comment back was, you said something to the effect of boundaries. Mm-hmm. And then when we were exchanging messages, preparing for this show, just preparing to meet for the show, you said you were doing a little bit of thinking about boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I would like to talk about boundaries.
Okay, we can. Do you want to
start?
Or
no, you first. You first.
So yeah, we were. My house is like basically in the woods, so it's really quiet, even though it's in the city. And we were having a porch party where we just like sit on the porch with people and listen to vinyl. And
right on.
Some of us libate and some of us do not. And the dogs are usually in the yard. And it's just like really, really chill. And we were talking about you for some reason, maybe. No, it was about the show. And we were like, come over. Like, it's just like, we're going to message you and see if you just...
Had I been home, I would have came.
Yeah. And so at that point in time, I think you were out really late, you know, working when you should have been home. It was like 9:30 at night.
Almost
or
10,
maybe like 8. Yeah. I don't even know.
9:30.
And
something like that.
Yeah. And I was like, I think I pointed that out because it's been something that I've been working on a lot with myself, like most probably in the past year, but more so like figuring out like how to have boundaries and still not disappoint people and still be good at my work and be a good friend or a good, you know, partner, but literally be able to draw the line and be self-protective for the things that are important to me.
Okay.
You know, because we're really taught, I mean, when I think we're taught sometimes, although parents now may be teaching children differently, that like, you know, not giving people what they need or putting yourself first is really selfish. And we feel bad doing it.
Yes, we do.
You know?
Yes, we do.
or saying no, you know, like Oprah years ago did a big thing about like saying no and like how to do that and like that we should practice that. But it's really hard because you don't want to disappoint people.
So how are you with saying no?
Well, getting better. I think for me, you know, it's sort of been an evolution. And for the longest time, like I just wouldn't, right? So like I would say yes to, I mean, I let my work really become like the biggest part of my life, which I don't regret because I absolutely love my work. But I was like,
it built your practice too.
Yeah. And I'm, oh my God, when I'm there, I'm still like so plugged in and I'm so happy and I love my patients and I feel like I'm on purpose. And, but it's like, a lot of my work, I was putting so much time into my work and then I was putting so much time into like the community and philanthropic things that I wanted to do and putting so much time into my friendships. And I was just, you know, like wearing myself out. And then I found myself spending time on things that really weren't important to me just to make other people happy. So I'm like, how do I do that? Right. So one of the things I did was, you know, even though I was like terrified, I scaled my work hours back.
Okay.
And I felt really afraid to do that because I was like, I don't want people to think I'm lazy. I don't want my team to think that I'm not working hard.
Is this post or pre-COVID?
Post.
Okay.
Yeah. And it really had nothing to do with COVID. Like people, like I feel bad for the people that COVID really like scared and stressed and things like that. You know, for me, COVID was a lot of challenges business wise. Like I spoke with my partner and she partnered in like the year before COVID and then we're making these big decisions like during this thing. And at the end of it, like I came out and I was like, what do you think that, you know, we did the right way? And what do we think that we did the wrong way? So there was like a lot of learning, right? But that didn't really stress me out. I mean, watching my business like go down because I'm such a like growth and goal oriented person. So it's kind of like all of your dreams, all of your stuff that's tied into this, you're screwed. and you can't do anything about it except for do the best you can.
Right.
So I was like, ugh. You know what I mean? But it didn't scare me, and I wasn't I was just kind of like, what? So, you know, COVID, I think the thing that came out of it for all of us as a team in my work was that we used to do like this administrative day Tuesday and then finish for a half day with clients, but we just eliminated it, and it didn't cause anybody any issues. If a patient has an emergency, like, we will go on a Tuesday, or if somebody has a scheduling thing, like my partner sees patients, you know, like on an appointment basis. So we kind of worked around it so that for our team gave everybody the opportunity to pretty much do like a 4-day work week.
Okay.
And then like rotating Saturdays. So it was sort of like a time upgrade for everybody.
Okay.
But for me, it was more like, I think it was the weirdest thing, but like a couple of years ago, maybe like 3 years ago, one of my like girlfriends who, you know, she was like in her 60s, but she just died unexpectedly. And then I had another girlfriend who was in her 40. She was like 40, die totally unexpectedly, cardiac arrest. Then one of my girlfriends died from cancer at the age of 61. And then one of my girlfriends died from cancer at the age of like 52. So like I'm watching all of these people, right, like around me who shouldn't have had that happen, like happen. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I've had a really good life. I've worked really hard and I still want to, but I just want time for me, or just time to be quiet, or time to appreciate my life. Or, you know, we wait and we put things off for so long. Like, I'll do that when I'm retired. I'll do that when I'm like, whatever. And I was like, you know, I'm going to be 48 years old. I'm not a baby. And like, I could fall over. And it sort of like changed my perception of that. Oh yeah. And I lost another girlfriend at the age of 35 in a really tragic accident. It was bad. Like, it was, you know, and it's
a bad run.
It was
emotionally
terrible. You know what I mean? And just like watching it all happen. So I don't know. I think for me, it gave me like the idea that like, you really need to look at what's serving you, what's not, and in a very kind way, start to carve out time for the things that really serve you. So what I figured out that works really well for me is, you know, I cut my work hours back, and my staff was gracious enough to figure out how to fill that in and pick it up. And my partner and I both feel like our work is balanced right now. And if she wants to go and travel and like I do, and we just work it out. And, you know, in my friendships, I realize that it's better for me, like the people that I really feel like I want them to have my time or need it, like I'll schedule one-on-one time with them, because in that hour or 2 hours, you can connect much more than going out with like a huge group of people and doing whatever. So, you know, it just sort of like just has come that way. And, you know, still doing philanthropic things, but being very selective about what I do. And
like more careful with your time.
Yeah, for sure. And not feeling bad about it. Like, I felt so bad about it. Like when I told my office, like, I really need to cut back, because instead of being like happy and giving, I was just so like, I had no buffer left, and I just was so worn down. And it wasn't anything that anybody did to me. It was just too much time in the same environment, doing the same things. And it just like, I was like, I can't, and I need to like consolidate this and be brave. And so, yeah, so I did stuff like that. So
was this like you said last 2 years?
Yeah, I downsized my house, which nobody thought I would ever do. I went from like this beautiful, you know, 1856 Victorian to a house a third of the size, which is still a beautiful 1926 Craftsman. But, you know,
I just sold one of those.
Did you?
Yeah. I love those homes.
It's cool. And, you know, I love my neighborhood so much. The family the grandchildren of the people that built it are still alive.
Oh, right on.
And they're going through their parents' like stuff. So I have like, they keep bringing me gifts, right? Like, this is a picture of my grandma, and, you know, sitting outside the pond that used to be in your backyard. And, you know, they came on house tour and stuff like that. But yeah, like the downsize was awesome.
I bet.
You know,
I bet. And
even just, you know, like with people, you know, I had a lot of really difficult things to do, you know what I mean? In respect to some relationships with my family and, you know, my marriage, and just, you know, like, so it's been a lot of like deconstruction to simplify and to make things easier so that the time I have is more meaningful. That's all. But it sometimes it's really hard.
Yeah, there's no question, because you understand why you need to do things, but it's how it's going to land with other people when they start seeing a difference in you.
Yeah.
and then how do you explain that, or do you need to explain that in circumstances, and who do you explain it to and who you don't? You need an explanation to. It's a maneuver.
I think it depends on how close they are to you, and the people that really love you, like, they get it.
Yeah.
And so if somebody is like, doing whatever, you can say like, I can't do that, but I can do this. Right. And give them options. But I still end up overscheduled, and we talked about how we handled that, right?
Yeah.
We need to get out of stuff.
That's a fantastic theory. I can use that. That's a good maneuver. Yeah, for sure. Do you think getting older, you think this is part of your realization? Naturally, you had a run of really unfortunate circumstances with friends and loved ones.
Yeah.
But do you think it's easier that when we get older to maybe be a little more selfish with our time, and selfish in a positive way?
Yeah. I think we're more clear about who we are and what's important.
Mm-hmm.
And our energy level sometimes dictates it, and our health, right? You and I were talking about this. So like, that if you want to have quality of life, let alone duration, like, you need time to exercise, you need time to sleep. You can't run around having a heart attack from stress every day. So like, I think some of it just becomes like, if you're a self-preservationist, you're going to attenuate accordingly.
Correct.
And so part of it is that, and the other part is like the realization, like, that like life is short. And part of it is just your energy level.
Bingo.
Yeah. Like, I'm literally like, people are like, where'd my energy go? I'm like, you're a grown up. You don't have it. Like, bye. Your mitochondria, not as active.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that's the hardest for me to grasp. Because I feel better than I felt 10 years ago physically. I can honestly say that. And losing weight and getting other markers under control. Yeah. But because I feel better, I sometimes think I should have the vitality I have when I was in my 20s. I expect that from myself. Right. And when it doesn't come, then I start thinking, oh my gosh, is there something really wrong with me? And there isn't. You're just tired. You're not getting enough sleep. You're not, you just need more sleep, or not more sleep. Maybe you need more consistent sleep, whatever it is. Expect to feel different than I felt in my 20s. And that was the hardest thing. I get it now. But initially I was like, wow, I feel so good, but I'm not in my 20s.
Well, do you know?
I'm just not there.
I mean, and that's better in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, although that was a great decade.
I know, right? I liked mine too. I think my 30s were my favorite so far, though.
They might have been mine as well.
Yeah, because you're a little more established. Like, it's not so much like career climbing. Like, you sort of hit your stride a little bit. And I always say when you're in your 30s, you're like old enough that people take you seriously, young enough to have fun, and like in respect to clothes, like you can wear whatever you want because like you're young enough to pull it off, you're old enough to pull it off. So
true.
It's the most fashion-forward decade of a human life.
Oh, that's a good statement. I gotta wrap that right.
Just wear whatever you want.
30s. Well, actually, sidebar. I actually thought coming out of the 80s. Again, this was just my little view of the world.
Yes.
But when the 90s came, I saw fashion just go bananas, like 90, 91, 92. I think all these different, because I think for our age groups, I'm considerably older than you, but I think we kind of looked at fashion based upon maybe the music genre we were in or the social circle we had or whatever. But, the 80s were very kind of stodgy and preppy and, a little bit more formal with the business 80s and all that nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
And then the 90s come and it's like...
You were wearing Z Cavaricis and MC
I don't know
Hammer
what those
pants.
are.
They're like the pleated pants that you wore them.
I might have.
Show me your
in
old
the
photos.
80s?
Yeah. Well, 90s. I think that's like, what was the guy store, like the Oak Tree or something like that? You're a guy.
Oak Tree?
Yeah.
Like a song?
No, it was a guy's store. But Cavaricci's like they were like tighter on your waist and they were pleated.
I'm a little older than you think I am.
I know how old you are. You just told me.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
it was more fun.
Well, I think it was a combination of grunge and the rave culture.
Oh.
And just a blending, I think, of hip hop in fashion into that. And just everything was just like, whoa. Pants got real baggy.
Yeah.
Things just got weird for me.
Did you go to a rave?
I went to one, yeah.
I never did. And when I got home from grad school, like that's when it would have happened. But I was running a practice and I was afraid of like getting arrested. So I never went to a rave.
I went to one, it was in a tunnel. And
oh, wait.
It was McKees Rocks Tunnel or the
the Corliss tunnels. Somebody else was talking about that.
Yeah, I only went once.
It must have been famous.
I can't remember much about it, but I only went one time. Yeah, that was an interesting thing. The music was okay, it just wasn't my bag. I mean, it's very trance and very like a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of the same.
Yeah.
That's what that EDM stuff is cool, but it's a lot of the same. Like I can, like, it's interesting about that music is like you can dance to it, it moves you, it's like an earworm, it gets in there.
Yeah,
but I don't listen to Led Zeppelin for 6 hours straight. Eventually, Robert Plant's voice will just kill me. Same thing with EDM. If it's too much of anything in a short, compressed period of time, I just, some people can just listen to that stuff endlessly.
You're over it.
Yeah, I can't. It's like, would you want to eat steak every day? Like some people would.
Mm-hmm. Not you.
Nah, I gotta have a little bit of variety. I mean, it's just. Yeah, I was begging to listen to country music on the way home that night because it was just something.
You're like, I need the opposite.
And I had hit if I'm asking for country music, sorry, I'm hitting rock bottom of choices.
Yeah, we have that sometimes on Friday at work. One of our team members really likes it, so we let it happen.
Not your thing?
I don't know. I mean, I don't hate it. I'm a very passive music listener. I was talking about this with I have a lot of friends that are really into music.
Yeah.
And for me, if you ask me about music, I'll say, yeah, I like it, but
it's kind of background noise.
Yeah, I'll pay. Yeah, and I'm not going to super pay attention to it. And if you make a recommendation, I'll be like, I like that or not, but I don't research it. And then I have other friends that deep dive into it. So I'm a little spoiled because if I follow them on Spotify or they make a playlist, I have wonderful music.
It's all curated for you. Yeah.
I know.
To think about it. That's a good thing. That's the great thing about music, though.
Yeah.
For people that are passionate about it, people that are kind of indifferent, people that don't like it at all much. You can always find something, but you can share it, and that's the without sharing, music's loses its value to me.
Yeah.
I had that conversation with Scott. I'm like, the fact that we can talk about the nuances, and why I think I love talking to musicians so much, because being able to somewhat read music, but play guitar, and I love it. That communication and sharing the expression, that's a thing. That's a real thing.
Yeah, and it's universal.
It is.
Who was the guy, speaking of pandemic, he does it, I want to say it's Katniss or whatever, but he has the lem cat, and he blends, so he made this track, and then people from all over the world send themselves playing instruments to this, and then he blends it all together. We had a lot
of time during COVID.
I love it. It makes me so every single thing that man does. When you talk about an earworm, all day I could listen to that all day.
He found the niche.
Lam, 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 and then he's mixing everything in.
It just goes to show you, man, the mind is crazy. I mean, the creativity comes from anywhere.
Yeah. And that's one of the good things about electronic music. In the past, to share music, you had to physically share it, or radio, I guess, kind of was shared over everybody that was listening at the same time. But it's been kind of neat because, everybody getting into vinyl again and going back to that.
I don't get that though.
Well, I didn't. And then I was gifted a record player, and my dad was a huge vinyl guy. Bought it, collected it, sold it on eBay. Can tell you all kinds of stuff. So
Chuck's invested in some vinyl music.
He's who he introduced me to that I really love is Duran Jones and the Indications.
Duran Jones and the Indications.
They're out of New York, but they're almost. I don't know. They're almost like a Motown R&B band, but they're in their 30s, and their drummer sounds like Smokey Robinson when he sings, and they're really cool. So Chuck introduced me to them, and I do love them a lot. But for my birthday, people bought albums for gifts. So it started this collection, and it was really fun because it was everything from Houses of the Holy to the WWF album that I coveted as a child, to Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas, which reminds me of my grandfather.
That's the whole gambit there in 20 seconds.
Yeah. So, and I have lots of Linda Ronstadt, some Donna Summer, but it was really cool, because, people see that, and then they, you get gifted these wonderful things. And I got a comedy album with a naked lady on it.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's called The Position Matters or something, but it's basically this guy doing
a comedy album
in the 60s, but it's a lady with boobs out and a drape with a bouffant. She's really cute. But the other night I was talking to my neighbor, And he's so kind. And he was like, oh yeah, one of my friends died. I have a box of records and I'll give them to you. So he comes over and he like plops this box of records down.
Okay.
And so now I have like 50 more records to enjoy. But it was, you know, oh geez, what's in there? Like 2 Black Flag albums.
Oh my God.
A bunch of like, well, Air Supply was in there, and Boston was in there, and Nazareth is in there.
All right.
Alice Cooper's in there. So it's kind of like when you look at that, like you can see like biographically like somebody's life. But the
so good.
The gem, which I haven't listened to yet, is a Bill Cosby, like a double album. Before Parenthood, because like I've heard Parenthood from the 80s.
Is the one from the early 70s?
I think so, and he's got a mustache on the back.
Yeah, is that the one? Why is there air, or is it Noah? Noah talks to God. It's good stuff.
I don't know. I'll let you know. But like, I literally am hoarding it for like when it's cold outside, and I'm going to listen to Bill Cosby before.
That's some funny stuff.
I know. I went to hear him at the Meadows like a month before he got busted for everything.
Yeah.
And
what a shame.
I know, because like everybody loved him, but like on the flip side,
there's the other side of him.
Yeah, crazy.
And it's funny that people. Like his whole catalog of work sometimes is tainted for those people now, and everybody has their own reason. I get it, but man, it's hard for me to I shouldn't say it's not hard for me often to separate the work of someone and then their personal life. You know, like
right.
You know, I can see them, but I'm not personally invested either. If I was, different story probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cosby was funny. Yeah. He was clean in an era where, like, you know, you had your edgier comics coming up, you know, Red Fox and George Carlin.
Oh, I love Red Fox.
He is something. And every time I watch Sanford and Son just to hear him talk.
Yeah. I should have worn I have a t-shirt that says "You Big Dummy" on it, and it's like an outline of his face, and it's one of my favorite things to wear.
Remember Grady on that show?
Oh yeah,
Grady. Yeah, come in there and there's some moments, exchanges between that's just classic. That was Norman Lear. Is that Norman Lear?
Yeah, and I was in love with Lamont.
Lamont,
big crush on Lamont.
Lamont. Yeah, is he still around?
I think he's still alive. But Fred Sanford, or Red Fox, he sings a really famous song with somebody on that show. It's like a cappella, and they're like sitting on the couch singing it, and I forget what it is, but it's
on Sanford and Son. There's a moment there. Huh.
It's a really cool song. Anyway, but they were like masterful. But I came up as a child when HBO was new, watching Whoopi Goldberg do stand up with like her yellow shirt on her head, talking about like her old boyfriend, and like making a rug out of the lingerie, and I like didn't know what most of it meant. But I was allowed to watch it, so I was like, I'm going to figure this out. And Eddie Murphy and Raw and Delirious and all of that. Saw all of it.
That was groundbreaking stuff, because I mean there was vulgarity obviously in comedy, and you had some coarse stuff, but there was he mainstreamed things. He was so popular. Yeah. And the movies didn't hurt either, you know, for his popularity. Yeah. You know, you can argue whether they were great or not, but you know, some of them were pretty funny. But, yeah. Yeah.
We started talking about this all because of country music.
I know. Well, okay, so that was let's go back to that. Why, so you look at Pittsburgh, why is country music a thing here? Because now people look in, like those looking in and getting an opinion of Pittsburgh, I don't think they view us anymore as a dark, cloudy, smoke-filled industrial town. That image I think we've shed. But I do find it fascinating, because I don't think of Pittsburgh being like a town of the South. I just don't. But yet, our country music love in this town is insane.
Yeah. Well, I don't
understand it.
Pittsburgh people are loyal, first off. We talk about this. That's one of the things that I love. And I feel like country music is, I almost think of country music as like American music. Okay. And not that it like is going to go ever, you know, it trends where it trends. And but we're not coastal, and we're not north, and we're not south. We're in that like big band, like, but I feel like
Midwest. Are we in the Midwest?
I think we're Mid-Atlantic.
Oh, Mid-Atlantic.
Are we Mid-Atlantic?
Okay.
We're almost Midwest, because I think like Ohio, does that start to be the Midwest?
I think Columbus and Cincinnati are considered part of the Midwest.
Yeah. Okay. But I just think people like it. And if you think about it, it's good music, and a lot of it.
Is it? I'm
not
sorry.
Not for you, but for some people.
Some of it's fine,
and
perfectly fine.
And I think that it went from, if you think of how country used to be, like it was like Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson and like those guys. Yeah. Well, it got really glam. Like Shania Twain and, Kenny Chesney.
Garth
and
Brooks
like,
started
yeah,
it, right?
Yeah. And like now, so it's like, and Carrie Underwood even, like I saw her in concert by accident, and she was awesome. And I didn't expect to like it. and she was great. So there's like, it blended like,
you're right,
more like, it's less like gritty, I think, in a lot of ways. Like the stuff, at least that's commercial, it's like less gritty. It's more universal, more fashionable, and but it's I think it's expresses feelings for some people or evokes that, and that's why people like it.
Well, I think there's a formula there. Country music, like rock and roll to a degree, there's a musical formula there, which is, it's way above my pay grade, but there's a it's a musical formula there that works. Now, it isn't. I don't even mean lyrically. It used to be the joke: what, pickup broke down, a dog died, and my old lady left me.
Yeah,
that was the thing, right? But now I think it's more about the, it's how they write pop songs. There's a
science.
There's a science to 98 beats per minute or whatever it is. You stay in that range and you make it just under 3 minutes long. You kind of have like the formula. I think country music has that too, and I think you have the staying power to do it all. But musical genres don't mean a lot to me now. But I can tell a country song pretty much the moment I hear it, and I'm like, okay.
And then your whole body shuts down.
No.
What happens? How do you feel inside?
Here we go. Put me on the couch. So Boogie Street, when we started, my first big move was I had an office in Rossland Farms.
Yeah.
I think right across from Froggy Radio in the same building when they moved there. So I befriended all these country music owners and like the DJs and all this stuff, but I was working in the rock and roll, hard rock client base. So there really wasn't a lot of blending, but like by osmosis, because we were all so friendly, they started bringing country music. Then country music started blending with rock, and I got to meet some really cool people. Like they would bring Taylor Swift was in my office before she ever broke. They brought down Dolly Parton came through, and just a bunch of people. But the two guys from Leonard Skinner, the singer and Donnie and the other brother, they did a country album. And they just, like, I'm just sitting there one day, and here comes the guys from Leonard Skinner walking in my door. Like, I'm having this day, like, crazy moment. Like, wait, what? So I've had those moments where country music and country music people have been really good to me. But I don't know. It's just something that it just doesn't. I think it's a big excuse to drink. That's how Pittsburgh uses. That's my point. I think Pittsburghers like to use country music as an excuse to really congregate and party like crazy, way beyond rock.
You think?
Yeah.
I just think we like to drink. Period. Every Sunday in Steelers season.
Drunkburg.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Just don't drive.
You absolutely don't drive, but. So you think that it's no different than rock and roll in terms of the way we ingest it?
I don't know enough about it to speak about it.
Yeah. It just seems like it's. So
you're talking about like Kenny Chesney and like the massive amounts of people.
Well, I think if you get the big ones, though, they could sell out.
The trash carnage that happens afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's specific to Pittsburgh. I think we take a hard rap for that, but I think that's pretty much any big venue in any city.
Yeah.
It just doesn't get the same press as it gets here for whatever reason, but. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So I photographed Kenny Chesney for Froggy Radio, coincidentally, at the stadium in 2015. And it was an experience. They put me on this very unnerving experience because they put the photographers on these like little, they actually constructed them, like stage rigging, and they put us up on these things. I was massively afraid of heights. And
like cherry pickers.
I climbed up this thing, and I'm like, holy shit. So I'm probably... I don't know, 60 feet or 70, 100 feet from the stage, but I'm in the middle of the ground area. And I'm just watching this sea of humanity. I'm seeing a lot of interesting things.
And were you harnessed in?
No, I'm just standing.
I would die.
Yeah, it was something. Yeah, so I was there. But it was, to watch that crowd, it was much different than a rock crowd.
Okay.
I mean, it was different. I can't explain it. Not the demographic of people, just the way they behaved.
Yeah.
It's just kind of really drunk.
Really drunk.
Now, maybe we are in all these rock shows I was going as a kid. Maybe we were just as drunk, but it was a little... No, I didn't see any mosh pits. I love that because it wasn't as dangerous as a metal show, but it was just different. I don't understand how we have so many country music fans in Pittsburgh. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I realize it's a reality. I just don't know where that came from.
Maybe one will reach out to you now.
I hope. We're talking about it. I'm sure I'll get some hate mail from this.
You're not hating them. You're just expressing.
No, I just don't. It's like symphonic music. If I'm really in a quirky mood, I'll ingest it for 5 or 6 hours and then I'm done. I can't, for another 4 or 5 months, I won't listen to it. But I'll have that niche once in a while. I want to get into it. But it's just not my bag. And if something doesn't resonate with you, I don't know. I mean, driving guitar is a sound that I just really, it does something to me. I can't tell you why. I wish I could articulate it, but I just can't. And playing is part of it, but just listening, man, just like, give me the first chord of Garth Brooks' Friends in Lonely Player. I got friends in places, small places, or I got friends in low places.
Low places, yeah.
Give me the start of that, or give me the start of Led Zeppelin, Black Dog. I'm going to take Led Zeppelin every time.
Yeah. It's how you're wired.
I guess.
That's what you like.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The fact that, I don't know, differences make the world go round or keep us interesting, something like that.
Yeah. I just, I was on my radio show this weekend with Rocco, and we were talking about mistakes entrepreneurs make. And I said, I made a big mistake early on. Mistake I made was I thought that my way was the best way, and the guitars that I dig and the music I dig are all I want to be associated with. So I'm only going to cater to these types of guitar players. I'm only going to make these kind of guitars because this is the best. What an arrogant asshole, and not a good business decision.
Yeah.
Once I realized, hey, diversity of musical tastes and diversity of opinions, if I don't be humble enough to expand and to enlighten, and through that, not only did I make more money, but I opened my eyes to additional music and additional music genres, and man, what an idiot I was. I mean, you look back at that, say, just so closed-minded. Mm-hmm. Closed-mindedness doesn't help anything.
Mm-mm. No, you at least need to be willing to explore it, or not fault other people for that. You know what I mean?
Well, I wouldn't have survived had I not.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough business in that specific market I created in my mind to just serve them.
Yeah.
But that was just a rigid, stupid, arrogant way of looking at things, and that was my big early entrepreneurial mistake. And you were laughing when I said entrepreneurial mistake, so fess up now.
Oh God, there are so many, so many. And I still do. Well, I had great mentors. I mean, that's honestly why. But I think for me, the biggest entrepreneurial mistake, which kind of served me well but was hard, was literally thinking I could control everything.
Okay.
All day long, every interaction, every whatever, and really when you're dealing with people or the world, there's a lot of variables. But I literally would take all of that on and want to control every single thing. And if it wasn't exactly how I wanted it or needed it, I used to be either I don't know, I just used to get really upset. So I had to really unlearn that. Because
what about letting go in regards to your vision of your company's identity and where you want it to go, and letting other people come in and contribute, take the reins? And were you good with that?
No, I sucked at it for a long time.
Okay.
And my partner, who still works with me now, she'll talk about how when she was an associate, I was really hard, my way, this way, now, yesterday, this, and and I really, I was younger, I was much more driven, and I had things that I wanted to have happen, people that I wanted to help and things I wanted to see. So I don't know, I feel letting go is very hard for me. And sometimes I could let go and things would work well, but letting go oftentimes means trusting other people, which I don't know. People complain, entrepreneurs complain about it all the time, where they're nobody does it the way that I do, and and every once in a while you're given the gift of somebody that does it better than you. But a lot of times they don't, or they don't care, or it's not them that's taking the phone call at 11 o'clock at night when somebody's pissed off because XYZ happened, or somebody looked at them the wrong way.
Right.
I remember literally being on a trip in India and coming
in India,
and Messenger works overseas, and I had somebody messaging me because they didn't like their adjustment while I was in India. Wow. No, I'm not kidding. And I'm sweet. So I'll be back in the United States in 48 hours. I'll, handle it then. And then more messages, So I'm
boundaries. When we talk about boundaries.
Yeah. And usually I don't mind that. Most people, I tell people all the time, if you need to find me, I'm easy enough to find.
Yeah,
and there are times when I wish that people would find me, and they don't. And I'm why didn't you call me? Why didn't you text me? Why didn't And they're I don't want to bother you. But then you have people that will literally throw down and bother you. And I'm in all kindness, I'm like, okay, so we're just going to handle this another time. But, like sort of being able to, and then I'm over there and I'm all worked up because like somebody's upset and like this person, whatever. And like, I can't control their hands. Right.
That's me. Yeah.
And I can't control you except for to tell you like, I need 48 hours. Like I'm on a 12-hour time difference. Like, give me a minute. So I don't know, stuff like that. But I've also had the privilege of working with like really smart people who've really been invested and cared about my company. Mm-hmm. And, it's been easier to like let things go. And I think I learned everything kind of by doing it, and like people are going to do that. So you have to give them the grace to get in that space and get uncomfortable, let them dig in, help them if they need it, and like just not take it over again. Mm-hmm. Like the patience with like letting somebody like get through the process.
Yeah. And I think, the safe thing for me to say is, I was just young and dumb and I didn't have the maturity to, well, shame on me. I was in my late 30s. I should have had enough maturity to let it go. It was just the ego, right? I mean, I created this, and I was in the business, I was selling guitars on the internet when the internet wasn't even a thing. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have any mentors. I really didn't have anybody that was doing something similar around me or even close that I could reach out to. So I was kind of finding it on my own, and that created more ego because, hey, I figured this out without any instruction, And
there's the competition.
They're not going to right. Bingo. Yeah.
You just annihilated them by being first.
I guess. And then in your head, I was like, well, I can't explain. They're not going to, this person I'm going to come in and ship these guitars isn't going to present this guitar the right way. And then after a while, at some point in time, I just realized that I'm making myself miserable by hiring people, but yet then ultimately either looking over their shoulder or ultimately redoing their work out of my own paranoia.
Yeah, I do it still. We have a safety word at my office for when I start being heavy-handed with my micromanagement.
That's actually good,
or touching things that I shouldn't touch, or if I'm saying too many things in like a really terse way because I get nervous. Like I'm going to go to work today and I'm really nervous, like because it's Monday. And we go, La cucaracha. And it's like just really quiet because it's like such a silly word that you're never going to say. But yeah, like I get there's a safety word that helps me to stay on track in respect to my leadership.
Okay. It is something though when you have great people.
Yeah.
When you have that support system, you're like, wow, why didn't I figure this out earlier?
Yeah, and you go through different things and you learn things. I mean, not all relationships are easy.
Right.
And sometimes you have to like work through hard stuff or call each other out or get called to the carpet. Like I've had that happen before, and it is what it is.
Is it the vision part? Because that was the hard part for me, was letting, like I knew what the business was. I thought I knew how I was being perceived in the market. You really never really know. But I thought I had that. And they are never going to see where I want this to go or the niche I want it to be in. They're not bought in because they're not me. Well, of course, asshole, because they're not you. I just couldn't get there for a while,
Yeah, the people that are really good at that, I mean, we look at people like everybody cites Steve Jobs, right? Who was a giant jerk, but nonetheless was really good at sharing his vision and getting people on board. So, I mean, not everybody...
He could sell it.
Yeah. And not everybody... I think it's a rare gift that people have that. You know what I mean? Yeah. For every one of him, there's like millions of people that can't do that.
My thing was, I don't even think I tried to sell it. I think I just
you're like, you're not going to understand it, so I'm not going to tell you.
Which is a horrible way to bring someone into an organization.
Yeah.
I did that.
Well, and I mean, for us, we went through a transition. For years, we had our purpose and our mission statement. In every staff meeting, we would read the purpose and mission statement, or somebody would recite it. And I'm like, I used to be like, if we've done this like 52 times this year, so like you don't know it yet. That was a failure on my part for that. I was like, how do you not know this? But then when we moved and medically integrated, like, it's funny because I actually like sweated over like, well, we don't have a purpose and a mission statement. We don't. It's not written down. We don't read it before our meetings. My business groups would be appalled. Like, I'm a terrible business owner and I still don't have a purpose or a mission statement. Like, I'm literally like, we're here to help people get better. Done.
Isn't that it?
Well, yeah. But then and then the vision changed. And a lot of people, I mean, when you talk about, business owners in COVID, their vision totally changed. But, some people,
we're here to survive.
Thrived. Well, some people straight thrived and they're like, we have so much work, we don't know what to do with it. Yeah. Like the people that were manufacturing the plexiglass screens that everybody started installing.
Those niches popped up.
And then on the other side, you have people where it just tanked everything, it's just
devastated,
whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, vision is vision. But I think flexibility is most important. I was very inflexible. And now I worry sometimes that I'm too flexible.
Yeah, well, of course. Of course you do.
Where's the happy
You've gone the other direction. Now,
yeah.
Did I go too far?
Yeah.
Yeah, sharing, to me, I look back and just shake my head. I view it as immaturity or just ego, probably ego, just not willing to, especially... Let me ask you this. Did you have success out of the gate when you started your business? Or was there really, was it a slog initially?
No, it's funny. Like I said, I worked for somebody that was a business management consultant. Mm-hmm. So there was no slog. It was and they had a methodology and they had a template for how
That's
you could.
Awesome.
Yeah. So no. And it was it easy? No. I still love him. Somebody described him as a likable asshole. But I've
heard that before.
Are you a likable asshole?
Oh man, true confessions.
Yeah, but no, but it's I literally it would have taken me a lot longer. So there were parts where I got stuck, and right now I kind of feel stuck. Do you know what I mean? Because we're in this what do we do now? How do we market? How do we reach the people that need us? How are we online but we don't look cheesy? And
there's confusion.
What's relevant right now?
Messaging confusion.
Yeah, it's it is what it is. So we would get stuck. There are benchmarks where it's normal to get stuck as you go through the business process in my industry.
Okay.
But yeah, I worked through them. So I'd help.
There's no manual for this stuff. There's no entrepreneurial manual. There isn't one, and it's a lot of it's making up as you go along. For me, biggest disadvantage I had was I had success out of the gate, and I was like, look at this money I'm making, and this is like taking candy from a baby. And if I do this and this, and you have these, it just fed into the bullshit. I just started believing my own bull, and then you start creating an organization and you start actually growing. And if you don't change, it didn't work. Not early on. It was painful. So I think having success out of the gate actually did not help me.
Yeah.
I mean, it paid the bills and put some money in the bank, and maybe helped buy inventory and all that stuff. But it wasn't probably I would rather have struggled a little bit in hindsight and had to work through things earlier on and figure out the interpersonal stuff. And I don't know. I think it's still the best decision I ever made. Mm-hmm. I mean, are you manageable as a person?
Yes and no. It depends. So I tend to be an ask forgiveness, not permission person, for sure. And I like rules and structure so that there's an expectation. But if the rule is stupid, I'm not going to do it. So there's that. But I think that people that have worked with me on teams would say that I'm manageable, and I like having an accountability partner,
right,
and things like that. But I don't know. I think it would depend on the scenario.
If you had opportunity to go back and do it again, is there anything procedural that you would do differently in terms of starting your firm again?
No. No. But I probably would. I mean, it's funny because I love my work, but I feel like I really have always wanted to practice law also. And that I love animals and things like that. So there's a lot of other things that, I guess I still could do, but it's how much time, how much school, things like that. So, part of me thinks this was wonderful, and I got to help a ton of people, and I got to change lives literally hands-on. And then there's a part of me that's well, I should have done commercial real estate development because I like that, and it's good money, and you work really hard, but it's whatever. It's a lot more glamorous than some of the stuff that I do every day, or practicing law because I love the law, and I just think that would have been a really good use of my skills. But I mean, I barely got to college, so I was just surprised. I had a really long conversation with one of my clients, and it was funny because one of my team members, we all went to IUP Kittanning.
Okay.
I did not have good enough grades to get into IUP.
Oh, the main IUP.
Yeah. So I went to IUP Kittanning.
Farmed you out to Kittanning.
Yeah, which doesn't exist anymore. But I actually found myself again at IUP Kittanning.
There was a campus there, like you stayed there, and it was the whole thing?
Yeah. It's old people housing now. It's senior housing, sorry. And the YMCA that was there turned into something else. One of my neighbors grew up in Kittanning and still has family there, so we were talking about that. But we were like talking about it because, like my guidance counselor was literally like, you're going to be lucky if a college takes you. And like my poor mom, like she was busy raising, all the kids and whatever. Right. So I remember being like, I'm going to go to IUP here, sign this thing. And I had to give her I think I gave her like $35 for my application fee so that she would give me a check. And I was like, she didn't ask a thing.
You just kind of went there.
Yeah, I was like, because my friends, I knew a couple people. I was like, that's cool. So then I ended up in Kittanning, but it was fine. It was a small campus, and I actually learned how to learn again, and I excelled, and it was not a problem. But we were laughing. So like this, I turned into somebody that I would consider very successful and very blessed, right? Mm-hmm. But like coming out of high school, you never would have thought that at all. I was busy. I was like smoking cigarettes, making out with dudes, like driving my Chevy Vega.
Yeah,
pea green, just like
pea green,
like Stanley P. Kachowski. But and then this kid, like he is in in his 40s, and he's in a sales and development role, whatever, killing it. Yep. Killing it. And we were talking about, I was working on him, and I don't know how it came up, but we were talking about it. And he's like, everybody thinks that you're like so dumb because like you had to go to the Kittanning IUP. And he was like, were you bad? I was like, I was so bad. And like we were both like bad kids that went to IUP Kittanning, and now we're like killing it.
Yeah, that's like you can't ever predict.
And one of my girlfriends went there too, and she's amazing. Like she's in private practice, like great mom, like killing it.
It's that drive. It's that internal drive thing. Yeah. I mean, really, I think obviously you can have all the smarts in the world, but if you can't do it,
it's funny. Yeah. So it's like, well, how much does that really matter? And like, could you just, like, what are you going to make out of yourself, and who's going to help you? Yeah. But IUP Kittanning.
My father told me, you're either going to service or you can go to college.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I'll go to college. Sure. I was a senior in high school. No, first off, I went to Cornell. I'm sorry, I'll say it. Went to Cornell High School. Guidance counselor at the time was an absolute joke. I mean, and I wasn't a good student, so it wasn't like I had any direction. And my father just, my father literally set up the SAT thing, did the entire thing. I was in Robert Morris at an orientation weekend before I really ever knew what was going on.
He just set you up.
And I just went there, and I went to the orientation weekend. And I'm like, whoa, these kids are like, they really have they have their scheduling, and they're like really into this. And I don't even know what this fraternity thing is. No one exposed me to this kind of shit. I lasted about 6 months. I was done. I'm like, wait. So in high school we had like 5 chapters for the entire year. And now they want me to read 5 chapters by Thursday. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't prepared for it, and I'm not blaming anyone. It was just the reality I found myself in. But I just never looked at that as an impediment. And I can remember when the recession of the like 1990 through 94-ish, and I was out of work for a little while and realizing, that degree might have helped me at that time. But once I get a job, I'm going to outwork whoever I was there. And if you go in and prove yourself, it was a learning experience for me that nothing. Now again, I wasn't in a technical field, right? So you need that training, but in sales and marketing and management, right? I was out working those with master's degrees. It was a matter because I wanted it, and that's what I tried to instill with my kids. Is like, listen, your dad's path is very unconventional, but if it does anything, it proves to you that the degree's not enough. You got to find yourself, and you got to really put yourself into whatever you do.
Yeah. And go ahead.
No.
I think that's starting to change again too, where people are starting to understand that life experience and like field training, like actually carries some weight more than it used to, because we saw, I think our generation was like a lot of people that went to college and end up never working in that field. And like we're sort of like, I think now as our kids are getting to that age, if they came up with something that was different, like I think we're a little more accepting of it than what our parents would have been.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So like I think I hope it's coming around, because there are a lot of people that are like really good at a lot of things, but because, if the job description is written that they have to have a bachelor's degree, they can't even interview, even though they might be completely qualified to do the job.
That was where I found myself in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're there anymore. Well, we might not be there anymore out of just the fact there's, the employees are needed now more than ever. But to me, the degree definitely proved that you can start something and finish that. It's how, to an employer, you would think you can start something and finish. I mean, it shows accomplishment of something.
On a long-term goal with delayed gratification.
Long-term goal with delayed gratification. Okay, there's the fancy way of saying it. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so I felt myself having an uphill battle then, which I wouldn't want to wish on my kids. So, but here's the thing. If my kids don't finish school, it's certainly not the end of the world. I'm not going to look at it like my folks looked at it, which was like, oh, my God, you're going to be a bum. You're going to be working at the Foodland supermarket your whole life. And my argument was, well, no, I'm not going to, because I wouldn't want to work there. No interest in that. But if I did, what was the problem with that,
Right.
At that moment, that was my logic. But
what worked for you?
Yeah, I just think, I think in the end, it comes down to, if I had a more conventional path, I wouldn't have ended up being the thinking person that I am today. I would have gone a different way. And I like the way I think today at 56. I like the way I but it's only through experience and meeting different people and diversity and the whole thing to be able to get there. But I mean, I think being authentic is not just a catchphrase with me. I am exactly who I am, and I have no problem just putting that out there and letting the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, it is true. You do that.
That's so liberating, man.
Is it? Not scary?
You do that.
Not really. I mean, maybe.
I think so. I mean, I think you have to be a little more guarded than me because the profession you're in. I think there's some of that. But, yeah, I mean, it hasn't hindered me yet. Now, again, realty, it's probably not as stodgy as other professions. I couldn't, if I was an attorney, I'm not sure I would put everything out there. But, I mean, the people that I work with love the fact that they kind of already know me. So,
yeah,
they know what they're getting.
Yeah.
For better or worse, you know what you're getting.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, like even in my workspace, we were talking earlier about like dress and stuff like that. Like I used to be like really worried about that. And like I kind of gave up on that and got more creative. And even just like how you interact with people, like I feel like sometimes like I'll say stuff and I'll be like, oh shit. And like people are laughing and they're happy because like they know it's the truth, you know what I mean? Or like somebody was having a bad day and like they were talking about it and they're on my table and I was like, do we need to go beat somebody up? And like they thought it was great. Like and I like it's not like I mean it like I want to, but like in my brain I'd be like, ugh, like what are we gonna do? I'm always like, do you want to go break stuff in the parking lot?
Yeah.
So just I don't know, just sort of like seizing the moment and things like that. But yeah, you're definitely outspoken. And it's
I guess.
Yeah. Different people relate different ways to that. Like my little brother is he's in real estate also, and he is funny because like he's
doing well, right?
Oh, he's killing it.
Yeah.
And he just it's funny, Bellevue,
he digs it.
He's a people person.
Right on.
So he went from like working in my office helping patients to marrying, like doing like 100 million weddings, officiating that.
Right on.
And now he's like helping people buy and sell their homes. And I said, like, all you need to do is train as a midwife so you can deliver babies and you will take them through all of it. Oh, and he did a eulogy, right? So I'm like, all right, so you're going to like sell them, you're going to marry them, sell them a house, deliver the baby and then eulogize. Like just full circle. No, but he's funny, and it's funny because like he could write. He very rare, like he'll post a picture of a house and be like, "I'm having an open house," right? But it's funny. Like one of the things that happened during the pandemic is he started doing this pizza challenge, which is just entirely like him blogging about like pizza and the scoring.
That's awesome.
Well, and everybody like likes it. So now he's doing like this top 100 of the like albums from the 90s.
Oh, right on.
And like people are literally like asking about it. They're like, we want to talk to Jeremy about this and whatever. And it's
how cool is that?
Yeah, and it's funny because like you build your audience, and I'm sure it helps him professionally. But he just kind of says whatever he wants a lot of times, and I'm like.
So, do we think we appreciate frankness more?
Yeah.
I mean, now it's a double-edged sword because I think there's a lot of the population is running around looking to be offended about things too, which is kind of sad. I don't have the answers there either, but that kind of goes against what I just said. Whereas we're also welcoming in more people to, potentially offend because you're giving your opinions.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a way to be authentic and.
How about polite?
Well, it's just not cruel, right? So like
not cruel, yeah.
Sometimes, I think honestly, like sometimes people say things or they express things in a way where like their intention is not to do harm, but they aren't educated enough about the language or who, there's a big education piece. And I'm not infallible at all that way. Like sometimes I'll like say or do something and I'm like, oh God, right?
How's it going to land?
Yeah. And because you realize like that the language isn't current. We were talking the other day, about, somebody said something about STDs, and I'm like, it's not STDs anymore, it's STIs, right? So sexually transmitted diseases, sexually transmitted infections, like there's a language difference now. And to some people, that's going to matter. But if you look at it in all the literature and publications and things like that, and like, what does it even mean? I have no idea, but I've seen it enough times that I know that like that's a thing. Or when we're talking about,
it's just being aware though, right?
Yeah, people that are, not heteronormative people or who are neurodiverse, right? Like those are all things that like we're all sort of like learning. So a lot of times when opinions come across the wrong way, it's because people either are cruel and they don't care, or they aren't educated enough to express it in a way where it's going to come across the right way.
Yeah, it's usually either or right there. Yeah. There's no other third option generally. It's one of those two things.
Yeah, some people don't care.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. And it's not I'm not going to judge anybody if you believe what you believe. That's I just don't have to agree with it.
Yeah.
And I just don't know why though. Like case in point yesterday. So I find it fascinating that men of all ages are wearing like leggings as like denim leggings as jeans, like
Oh yeah, I saw your thing.
So for me, jeans are like jeans. I understand slim fit and skinny fit. I get all that, but leggings on a guy is just with jeans is just an odd look to me. That's all to me. I'm not saying it is an odd look universally. It's just one man's opinion. But it was more a reflection that like I just don't get it because either I'm old or whatever. I was making fun of my own inability to understand it. Right? I even said it's. I think I said something to the effect of like, I think I said it's more confusing than quantum entanglement. For me, it's humor. It's humor.
Yeah.
And it's lighthearted humor. Well, I think most people got it, but apparently going back later and looking,
people were upset.
Some didn't.
I didn't read your comments.
Some didn't. Guys considering the well, you sound like an old guy. Well, I kind of am an old guy. So, but I'm not trying to. I don't expect people to dig the things I do. I expect to be just like every day. That's just life.
Yeah.
Right? But I wasn't really calling out anybody. So then I sat back and go, okay, how can this? Is this not landing right? But then I finally said, you know what? No, it's landing as intended. I'm leaving it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta say, look, there's no malice intended here.
Yeah.
Grow up, get over it.
Well, yeah, and that to me, like I'm totally on board with you with that, like for the most part. But I do have to say, yesterday I was out. I was in the Strip and I was at a restaurant, and a younger man came up and like ordered whatever, and he literally had on like the tightest jeggings I've ever seen in my life.
Jeggins, that's what they're called, right? Jeggins.
But he was smoking hot, but like he had great legs and a great butt, and like I was like laughing because I'm looking at this like.
Well, you're also female too.
Boy.
Different.
But a lot of times I hate it because like I'm like, ew, like their legs are too skinny. I mean, I think if you have the right body, jeggings are.
Well, I was making a commentary that I don't understand because I don't think I have the right body for jeggings. So for me, it's confusing. Like I wouldn't wear that.
Some.
Yeah, it's not happening.
I hope somebody sends you some.
They can send them to me,
and then we'll give you a photo shoot for your Facebook. Just try them on.
I just, man,
you might like it.
Maybe to sleep in or pajamas or something, right? I don't want to be bound up though. It's like. Yeah, I don't know. Like yoga pants are a great thing. Not for me, but I got no argument with yoga pants on females. I've always, since I was young, thought they were fantastic.
What about guys in spandex?
Well,
like
that's every 80s metal band ever.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that is true.
But here's the argument. I think the guy tried to use that argument with me. Well, did you miss the 80s metal? I said, listen, yeah, I remember it, right? But guys, mainstream, high percentage of men walking around in the 80s weren't dressing that way in public. That was my argument. Like, now, but today you see a lot of men in jeggings or whatever that is. So it wasn't really a great argument. My point is, look, yes, I remember the 80s. Yes, I love hair metal, but I didn't see us wearing tons of eye makeup and spandex and leopard print shirts ripped open to my belly button. I didn't wear that in the 80s. I'm sorry. And I don't know anybody in business that did.
No, or just in normal life, like it'd be really weird to see somebody out like that, and you would assume that they were in some kind of band.
Yeah.
If they were out like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and that was another thing too. Like and there was other examples on there too. It's fascinating to see how people think. Like they were giving examples. Well, no one thought David Bowie was weird. Listen, it's like we don't really read in detail anymore. We don't really listen in detail to get context. We're so reactionary,
and everything's so fast. The way that we get materials delivered so quickly, and
and
we can respond
100%
to a ton of people.
Yeah, I just don't think we, and I'm guilty too. But I really work hard on trying to ingest things and take a couple of breaths before I make a comment on something, because once I take that breath, I'm like, oh, wait a second, that's not how he's intending or she's intending to say that. This is the way. I try not to be ultra reactionary, but
I struggle with that too. My stepdad has a 24-hour rule. Like if something really fires him up, like unless he has to do something immediately, like he literally is like, okay, I'm going to deal with it in 24 hours. And that's a really smart thing.
Oh man, that has served me in real estate so well. I started doing that a couple of years ago, maybe right around the pandemic or before. And because not that I have a lot of contentious negotiations, but you'll see things in negotiations that'll kind of piss you off because you care about your client. You're you're defending your client. Defending is where you're standing up for your client.
Advocating for it.
Advocating. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am an advocate.
Yes.
But when I get angry about it, I don't want to send off that email. I just want to step away for a day, let it like marinate a little bit, and I still feel passionate about it the next day, then do the appropriate thing. Oftentimes I find myself, I don't even respond at all because it doesn't hold the same emotional weight the next day.
So hard.
It's hard. But is it really, let me ask you this, is it really satisfying to reply, even if it's warranted, in a nasty fashion? Is it really satisfying long term, or is it more of an emotion? It's like eating a piece of candy. The satiation's gone in
I don't know. I think sometimes it's highly. I'm not going to tell you like, no, I hate it. Like, no, sometimes it is.
It can be satisfying.
Incredibly satisfying.
But only
maybe I'm not as nice as what you think.
If they get it though, right? Like if they're already
if you do it right, they're going to get it.
I guess, yeah.
And if they don't, then like whatever. But I mean, sometimes like there are things where.
Have you ever seen your moment and opted not to take it?
Oh yeah, I think a lot of times.
Okay.
Because I think to myself, like I don't really like to be. I think sometimes when, and in particular, if you're talking about like a moment where you're not seizing something that's like happy, like I seize lots of happy moments, right, and it's fun. Okay. But like if you're like under duress and you're like having this thing where it's like probably seizing like a bad moment or a moment to like get your jab in, like I don't really like being mean. I'm a really slow burn with that.
Okay.
But if I get to the point where I have enough, like it's on, and I don't care.
Don't piss her off.
Well, it takes a lot. I know. And
your threshold's high, right?
Yeah, and I've been, one of my things that I've been doing as part of like, this whole boundaries thing is when people start like bugging me or saying stuff that like is starting to like make me, whereas before like I would just be quiet about it.
Okay.
I'm like, listen.
So she says, listen.
Yeah.
Then
I need to let you know that you're starting to make me really mad. So you might want to stop. Or like, I had somebody reach out to me that had treated me really poorly and always reaches out in emergency and always wants help and always whatever. And I literally had to say like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to help you anymore. So don't ask me. And I hope you get what you need. Like, because was it mean? No. But like in the past.
It's pretty powerful though, huh?
Well, I mean, it's succinct.
For you.
Yeah. And I was like, just don't.
Is that part of the whole boundary actualization thing?
Yeah. And that was a hard one. And I got to do that like maybe a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, telling people like, you're starting to make me, perhaps I'm not understanding you, but I'm starting to get a little bit,
Perhaps is an
wondering
interesting word.
Wondering what your intent is. So if your intent is to make me upset, you're getting there. You might want to rethink it.
It's a warning. So you're putting out a warning,
yeah.
Right?
Because if not, then, I'm not, unfortunately, disciplined enough to just like let it go.
Correct.
And I just don't, and at that point I don't care, like it's red or black, like you know, and then it's on.
So let me ask you this. Is that the problem today? Is that we don't give subtle, methodical warnings before we just go for the jugular? Because it seems like it's constantly going for the jugular.
Well, I think that with people that you don't know, it's easy to go for the jugular and be a keyboard warrior, like, and just write whatever. Because, like, how are they going to find you? What are they going to say? Like, that's easy. But when you're in relationship with someone, it's not as easy. You know what I mean? So it's just like a different exercise. But I mean, even like, you know, when we were talking about business, like if you look at our business, we have amazing reviews. And then every review that's bad is somebody that owes us money or didn't want to do a treatment plan. Like they just want to come whenever they feel like it, want their insurance paid.
Wouldn't you love to put that out there?
Well, I kind of started. So like,
I'm not surprised.
Like, because like you get these things and like everybody says like, don't respond. And I just got sick of not responding. And I, like one time I wrote one that, you know, I was just like, I feel really bad that you felt like you still had to do this after we handled what you needed us to handle. And sort of like if your $65 was that big of a deal while I sorted out the billing through the midst of staff changes, then I really feel for you. Like, but maybe you should have waited before you did this.
It's good.
I didn't care. I mean, like, come on. It's not about that, but like, I'm not going to work for free. I can't do insurance for like, so it's like, but it's funny. Cause like, if you look at business reviews, they came in when I needed them. They helped me have a successful pregnancy. Like I feel amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then like the 3 or 4, one time some kid gave me a bad review because I made him watch a VHS tape about what was going to happen during his visit. I should have had it on a CD at that point, I guess.
Of course.
Now I just have it uploaded into the cloud. So like top that, bam. But it's like the stupidest stuff. So like, so people, I feel like they can just sometimes say whatever they want to say, and I try not to like be that person. But now I'm just sick of them doing that. And like, if it's something that I like, if I do something and it's wrong because like we're not perfect, like I own that 100%. I'm like, how do I make it right? What do I need to do? Like, how can I make this better for you? And if people are gracious enough to give you a chance, or if people are kind enough to tell you like, hey, like you're really messing this up, or this was not how I expected, or I misunderstood this, then, and give you a chance to like make that okay, like that's a kindness.
For sure.
And it's brave for them to tell you that versus just sitting down and just whatever they want.
So before you run, I do want to ask you this, get your thoughts on this too. It's a little bit of a right turn. But in the same vein, I sat down with my son, and Rocco Koza sat down with his son, and we did a father-son podcast about a month ago. It was incredibly well. And for those who have watched that and commented and sent me messages and sent Rocco messages, I appreciate that. It was extremely well received. I didn't know where it was going to go, how it was going to go. It couldn't have been any better. Yeah. Very personal. But what I want to ask your thoughts is what I learned from these two guys, both 20 and 21 years old, both in college. One's a senior, one's a junior. About dating and girls and relationships and things, that it was sad to me. It was like two decent looking kids, like, you know, well spoken, really, I think, good guys, but the online bullying thing is not like what our generation would have thought about bullying. You know, like the bullying was the kid that harassed you on your way home from school or you know, in the parking lot, but they are actually too timid or too afraid almost to speak to girls or women.
In person or online?
In person particularly, but online they're worried about taking even a chance there because of if it's the wrong person, then they get thrown into a group chat or a group Snapchat thing, and then they get made fun of. And I don't think that the actual reality is they're really being made fun of to a great degree. The risk of it is there, but their mind it is, because they probably have moments of seeing people really, you know. It really was sad to me. Like their interactions are just, you're trying to define, like, because none of them go to coffee shops. The idea of like us sitting and having a conversation in our generation is not there anymore. That stuff is, for the most part, is not there. It's really, they're holding courtship, they're holding their initial interactions all via texting, whether it's through apps or whatever. And I just came away from that and really, I won't say I'm disturbed by it, but there's a part of me that's sad, really sad.
I agree with you. I mean, we talk about it. There's so much more. I mean, I see it generationally in my siblings, because like I'm an X and I have 2 Ys and a millennial. And getting the millennial to like pick up the phone and call you she's actually better at it now. And yesterday was National Sisters Day, and she told me I was the best sister. So I love
how about that?
I know, it was sweet.
How about that?
Totally unexpected.
Right
but
on.
anyway, like I remember like especially when stuff was hard, like it would be like all text and like she wouldn't answer the phone. So, but I think, I mean, that's kind of, they grew up electronically, you know, and like they even like their games like talk to each other on the internet and like things like that. So, and they had friends like in different countries and all over the world. Like they're very like global, and they're used to being able to talk to people that way. So I feel like, you know, that's naturally like the best, easiest entree for them.
Okay.
But the fact that that's getting, you know, I don't have, you know, kids, so, but the fact that they're like so worried about all of that now and how that works, you know, it's sad, because it is really the way that they're most comfortable communicating. You know?
So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That is the reality. But it's the
lack of mixing.
Yeah, like my son he said there, and when it was coming out of his mouth, I would literally thought, like, I couldn't believe I was hearing. He says, I don't even think I had the confidence to go up to anybody. And he's a Pitt, for God's sake, with like hundreds. And he's like, Dad, there's hundreds of girls. And I'm like, well, yeah. I go, because you know, you're not going to, he says, well, you go up to one of them, you know, and then she doesn't, you know, like you or whatever, then, you know, it's okay if I don't mind being rejected in person, but it's like, then like I'll hear about it online. She'll go into a group chat and I said, do you know for certain she'll do that?
Aww.
And he's like, there's a high probability. I'm like, really? I mean, so maybe I'm just really so far removed from how they maneuver and all that. But I was left with that feeling like, holy smokes.
Like there's no mercy.
There's no mercy. Yeah.
There's no like just like letting it go.
Yeah, I mean, but they still hang out with their friends, and they go. They say they go to parties, but it's not like we go to parties. It's different. They could all kind of be in a room together on their phone and still kind of talking to each other, but not really talking to each other. It's a different kind of thing.
And people will tell people things that are embarrassing potentially, so they're just being quiet.
Bingo.
Yeah, I would hate that.
Yeah, I told him, I said, listen, I'm not knocking your, you know, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is where you find yourself, you know, in the timeline, but I don't know what I would have done. You know, I mean, and I tried to, I think Rocco did too. We said, look, you know, the beauty of dating that I remember, especially when I was younger, was you just didn't know what was going to happen. It was the unknown that made everything beautiful. You know, if you're waiting for predictability or certainty, you know, it's not going to happen in the courtship process.
Right.
I don't care if it's electronic or it's in person, right?
Yeah.
You would think.
Yeah. Or maybe because they're so not used to talking to each other. Like, I remember learning business networking, and they were like, you know, you need to have like 5 openers, right? So like maybe he needs 5 openers and 5 closers. Like,
could be.
What brings you to the event tonight?
I think he has all of that.
What keeps you busy when you're not here?
Yeah, I think he has all that. But what I guess my point is, remember, they're teaching you to be networking with other business people.
Yes.
They're trying to network with young students. So I don't know if it's, you know, he could be as assertive as he wants, but if it's not landing right in a receptive audience and they don't know how to respond, even if they want to, and they don't know how to, I think that's a problem. It's like they don't know how to respond and communicate in person as comfortably as we just did.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, because we didn't have any other way. I think we need to interview like early 20-something women and ask them their perspective on this.
I think it's a tremendous idea.
So
I think that
I have some. I think
you now have an assignment.
I do.
It's official on here.
Fine.
Yeah, we need to put together a show with 2 other participants
to tell about their perspective on that.
Yeah, roughly the same age. Maybe we should look at 2021 people. And I don't want to know either one of them.
Yeah.
I want to leave the curation up to you on this one.
That's fine. And like just sort of be like, so like if a guy wants to come and talk to you, what is going to make them be awkward and what's going to make them get your attention in a good way so that you want to talk to them more? Or do you not want them to talk to you at all? And the only way you want them to find you is through like, you know, apps or mutual friends or whatever. I mean, I'm curious about it now.
And my daughter is, won't say this, but I think she's a little bit envious that Austin's been on the show. So the door's open to Gwen to do it too. And now Gwen is 19. So if she wants to do it, maybe she'll do it. But if not, I think it's a tremendous idea, because I've only gotten the male side of the story, of course.
Yeah.
So far, but it was just really sad to me. Like, wow, like this is, and you growing your practice and doing it, you've watched technology probably limit the amount of actual conversations associated with your work. Now, probably more remedial stuff with scheduling and things like that. I mean, you still have your in-person consultations and all that stuff you do, but there has to, you must see the erosion of human communication, right? You've seen that?
Yeah, or just like if you want, like if something's like a more detailed topic or something that's more sensitive to communicate, like it's sometimes hard to get people to do that, where I will send an email that says like, can we schedule a call? Can we do this? Like, you know what I mean? It's almost like to have that interpersonal reaction, I think is important, especially when you're trying to convey tone and work through something. Like, let's say that like you need to figure out like something where you both need to like sort of have input. Like it's very difficult to do that like in one sentences, texting back and forth, or like in an email, and then they're answering 20 minutes later, and like you've lost your like thought around it. So yeah, I agree. But maybe they'll come out of it. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely different,
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that they're both going to be fine. Oh, they also said in here, which was interesting, that I did not land poorly with me, was that they both think that they would like to wait until they get out and find their first job before they start taking dating seriously. That didn't break my heart any, because at least, ultimately their outcome is their outcome. But getting their degree done and maybe starting their life, maybe that I would prefer that happened. But again, I'm just a dad wishing, right? I mean, I don't know. It was just so, maybe I was disturbed. And I've gone back and listened to the podcast a couple of times for my exercise and the editing and all that stuff. And it was just like, wow, everything else about that podcast was fantastic and funny and honest. But man, that was just hard to listen to. They both were sharing the same, and they're both very different, but they both were sharing the same theme. The thread was the same.
Yeah, I'll have to review it, but I mean, I think that it's the fact that they were willing to even like talk about it is a big thing. Oh,
I couldn't believe it. Yeah. I mean, that was so honest. But I guess maybe that point I really haven't thought about enough. It probably took a lot to do that. But man, I guess I just wish, and that's the point of this show, is I just wish people would just actually start talking with each other.
Yeah,
looking each other in the eye and.
It's so fun, yeah. And talk to strangers. One of my girlfriends, she started a YouTube channel.
Okay.
She's really, really good at talking to strangers.
Who is it?
Her name is Zoe, and it's called Zoe Makes Friends.
Okay.
And like she has like a YouTube where she was in line in a Walmart in the Outer Banks for like 50 minutes, like waiting to check out, and she made friends with everybody. And like she literally talks to, like, it doesn't matter.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, there are,
Zoe talks to strangers.
Yeah, Zoe Makes Friends.
Zoe Makes Friends.
Zoe Makes Friends. Yeah. And but it's an interesting thing, because like to talk to a stranger, it's usually really, a lot of people get really uncomfortable with it. But I don't know. I mean, let's hope for the sake of our population, if we're going to have kids, these kids need to meet each other and have babies.
Oh
like,
God.
Are we screwed? There's going to be nobody to take care of us.
Elon Musk might be right. The population's going to shrink down to nothing
because they're all too afraid to like talk to each other.
Dr. Shannon, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Always nice to see you.
Yeah, let's not wait so long this time.
Okay.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying there's a move involved in things, but always great conversations, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I hope that everybody enjoys it, and I thoroughly enjoy it as well.
Thank you very much.
Have
we'll
a great
do it again
day.
shortly.
Sounds good.
All right, friends. We're out.